not that long ago. But equally, it could have been a reconstruction of a fatal accident, because that and a whole host of others like it is typical of the sort of workplace transport accident that every year kills or maims literally dozens of people. And it might surprise you to know that something like 4 out of every 5 of those accidents could actually be prevented. Now, an accident like that might not make any difference anyway, because no injury you might hear about. The accident we've just seen wasn't really the driver's fault. It was the fault of the roadway system part. Roads wide enough for clear markings. It's evolved over the years, but layout seems reason to change. The public, especially because they're planned, they keep traffic moving in different directions apart. They separate vehicles from pedestrians, and they keep everyone informed about which path to take to get to their destination. Above all, there are sets of rules which apply equally to all road users, and that includes pedestrians. Why should this type of safety planning be suspended once you enter a private site? After all, there are here, and the risk is just the same, if not greater. This company have planned their site with careful consideration to safety. Ideally, you should have a one-way flow, so everything moves in the same direction. And if you can't, you should aim to have roadways wide enough for vehicles to pass easily. Above all, clear signs and road markings so everyone knows where they're going and who has right of way at any junction. You can't always avoid sharp bends or blind spots, but what you can do is put a mirror in there to make sure that people can see what's coming. There are other safety measures at this workplace. On speed limits, enforced by speed ramps if necessary. Drive-through loading areas with plenty of space to get out of the way of manoeuvring vehicles. And pedestrian walkways with barriers at doorways to stop people walking into traffic. If you want to keep the traffic flows around the site to a minimum and keep the roadways clear, then you have to provide enough places for people to park. Parking areas themselves should be in safe locations and where possible away from the main traffic flows. They should be well surfaced, well signposted, with safe access and exit points, leaving people in no doubt where to come in and where to go out. There's a legal duty on employers to provide a safe workplace, but it's more than that. It's also a question of good management and a responsible attitude to staff.
Safety within the plant is the responsibility of the company. The record at Peugeot on safety is very good, and we're very proud of that fact. And it is important to have a good safety record, in as much as accidents cause disruption in production, people to lose time from work, possibility of being prosecuted, and also claims for injuries from the employees. So as you can imagine, the cost implications are quite high. A lot of the time, accidents are caused by carelessness, distractions, lack of concentration. We try to have safe systems of work built in to try and cover every eventuality, but a lot of it is down to common sense. In some cases, there's obviously specific risks that you need to take specific actions to cover. All safety features have to be monitored, and people do have to keep their eye on things. You've got to educate people to be on the lookout for moving vehicles, and you've also got to educate the drivers in turn to be on the lookout for pedestrians. It works both ways.
The layout of a site is extremely important, but it's not the only consideration. There's also the question of all the different types of vehicles used on it. The public roads carry a huge variety of vehicles, but nothing like as wide as the range used in the workplace. Apart from the usual cars, vans and lorries, there are specialised vehicles of every shape and size. They all need to be appropriate for the job they're being provided to do. It's a management responsibility. So it's important to choose vehicles carefully suited to purpose and site. It's not just a question of cost either, it's also what the vehicles are going to be used for. I mean, you wouldn't use this flatbed trailer, for example, to transport hardcore.
OK then, let's go. Up you go.
At best, the man riding on those forks won't be going back to work for days or weeks. He may not be going back at all. The basic cause of that accident was using a forklift truck for a purpose that it just wasn't meant for. Far too many people are killed each year by lift trucks toppling over or by loads falling onto the drivers. That's why a safety cage like this one can be a real lifesaver. It's part of the protective and safety equipment that's available. Which you fit depends on the vehicle's use. But choosing the right vehicles, equipping them properly and then using them only for the work they were built to do is not the end of the story. They must be properly maintained and repaired as well.
You have to weigh up the responsibilities that you're going to take. The maintenance side, it goes on, and that's where the costs come involved. Doing it on a cycle for inspections, that's what it will take if you're going to run this type of equipment. Obviously, these vehicles can kill, so if you miss something, it could be life endangering, so regular maintenance is very important.
For instance, jacks are designed to lift wheels, not hold them up. No one goes underneath until it's safely lodged on axle stands. It's dangerous enough working under an unpropped car bonnet, let alone a tipper body weighing more than a ton. There are proper workshop props secured by clips or bolts. Split-rim truck wheels with their huge high-pressure tyres are potentially dangerous. The forces trapped between these rims can maim or even kill. Removing and fitting tyres is a tricky job which needs specialised equipment. Vehicle safety is one factor of skill and experience behind the wheel. A construction 1,000-ton or building wheel dumper, isn't it? Over the last decade, these things saved far more lives than Formula 1 and Formula 2 motor racing combined. We've all seen how dangerous it can be. The problem isn't so much the vehicle as who gets to drive it. By their nature, construction sites are home to casual workforces with huge differences in their skills. It's not uncommon for relatively young or inexperienced people to be allowed to drive a dumper. And most of them think they can. After all, the controls seem simple enough. What they don't appreciate are the hazards. These can combine with driver inexperience to form a deadly combination. Think of the terrain. Construction sites are normally anything but flat and level. It's in situations like these that another factor comes into play: lack of visibility. From the driving position on a dumper, you can't see what's immediately in front of the vehicle. It's often just a question of being aware of the vehicle's capabilities and drawbacks. No site manager would dream of allowing anyone without very high levels of training and competence to operate one of these huge, powerful machines. But exactly the same considerations must be applied to any vehicle, what the size or power. The risks are well understood and quite foreseeable. Must it always take a serious or fatal accident to improve safety standards?
The site changes daily. One day there's an excavation, then it's backfilled, another one's opened up. Supervision is the prime concern, you know. You've got to be properly supervised, provide adequate training and instruction. We provide an induction talk to every employee on site. We run over the hazards of working on sites and provide a toolbox talk once a week on subjects relevant to the work taking place, and generally employ people that have had the relevant experience. Accidents can be prevented with adequate supervision and training.
Preventative action doesn't have to be very elaborate or very costly. Just making people aware of the risks and the rules is most of the battle.
Okay.
Obviously, younger employees need to be supervised and trained, but not just the young. Older workers may also need training and supervision, particularly when they're required to operate new equipment or change jobs.
That was very good. Just an inch or two too far.
Reversing is one of the most dangerous manoeuvres that you can make in a car, and it's obvious why. Visibility to the back is restricted, and you have to turn around in the seat just to get what little view that there is. It's a manoeuvre that really does need maximum concentration. When dealing with vehicles like this, you need to take even extra care. Ask yourself if there's a way that you can avoid lorries having to reverse at all. This can often be done by designing the job and the area so the lorry can go in one end and out the other. Not only would it be much safer, it would also make the driver's job easier, and the loading would be quicker. Everyone benefits.
If you can't avoid vehicles reversing, then make sure that there's plenty of room and space for pedestrians to get out of the way.
This vehicle has large driver mirrors and a reversing alarm.
What you should do is look in a systematic way at where your site vehicles are going and what activities they're involved in, and then ask yourself, what are the dangers?
Look at routes for vehicles and pedestrians. Are the vehicles safe on those routes? Are pedestrians safe? Do you need to do more to make the vehicle routes or working areas safe, or to keep pedestrians away? Look at your vehicles. Are they suitable? Do they have proper safety equipment? Check that they're properly used and maintained. Look at what your drivers and other employees are doing. Are they acting safely? Do they get proper training and instruction? Are they properly supervised? Check that your instructions, training and supervision are good enough to ensure that they are able to carry out their activities safely.
It's your responsibility as employers or managers to provide a safe workplace, safe vehicles, and make sure that employees carry out their work safely. We've touched on a number of important points. If you'd like more detailed information, then get the Health and Safety Executives document, Lives.